Hi, and welcome back to my video blog for polyphonic.org. Today I'm going to be talking about the first thing that any musician thinks of in terms of starting a career, which is money. Okay, that might be a little bit of a joke, but I recently had the opportunity to do a workshop on strategic planning and financial forecasting for the Arts and Business Council with our board treasurer, John Beerbussy. And while that was an action-packed 2 hours, I figured I could probably give you a few tips within a few minutes to get yourself started. Now, I know that many of you won't be doing a strategic plan anytime soon, but I think it is important if you're going to start a career in music to really have some idea of what you're getting into financially. The first thing you want to do is start with the end in mind. So really think about who you want to be when you grow up. Think about what you want to be doing professionally, and then also think about what you want your family and personal life to look like, because these things will impact each other in a really big way. You want to have a really clear vision as to what it is that your life is going to look like in both of those areas. And then you also want to get very specific in terms of the types of services and products you might like to offer. For example, if you wanted to teach lessons, you might think about what lengths of lessons you're going to offer, whether it's 30, 45, 60 minutes. You might think about, in terms of performances, where you want to be playing, whether they're traditional venues or non-traditional, whether they're in town or out of town. All of these things are going to impact the financial projections that you put in later. Once you've had an idea as to what these things are, you can start to do some research. Now, if you were to try and figure out how much you might be able to make from a given service, one of the easiest ways is to ask somebody who already does that and who might be a few years ahead of you in terms of their career path. What you don't want to do is go up to them and say, "Hey, I'm interested in doing exactly what you do and going in competition with you. Can you tell me how much you made last year?" Not a good thing. What you might do is say, "Hey, I know you do this thing, which is something that I'm interested in doing as part of my career. I'm thinking about getting started within the next couple years. Can you give me sort of a range of what you think I might expect in terms of income for this type of performance?" And it's a lot easier for them to then give you a range of what they think is possible within the first couple years for a new artist, rather than to say what they actually themselves made. So you want to do some of that research on the income side, and you also want to do some pretty specific research on the expense side. So if you know that your career path is going to involve travel, rental space, equipment, anything like that, you want to start going to some of the places that you know or think that you might be working with and start getting some estimates. It's really good to really start those relationships with people that you think you might work with, because chances are that your projections are going to end up being a lot more accurate if you can put in real numbers. So my favorite thing to say here is no ghost numbers. You don't want to be putting in guesses that you think you might change later, or putting in placeholders or things like that, because the more clear you can be about having spoken to people about what's possible, the better your plan is going to end up. And also, you're just going to have a much clearer picture as to what's involved. There might be a lot that comes in through those conversations that you weren't expecting. Once you do that, you can really put it together. You can think about, based on your professional and personal life vision, you can start thinking about how many of each type of service you can offer, what's realistic for that stage in your career, and then what you can expect to earn and spend on each of those things. So you can pretty much set up a simple budget for yourself at that point. The last thing is really starting to think about where you are now versus where you want to be at that stage in your career, and then start to build a bridge. So, if the distance is 2 or 3 years, you can think about setting up some intermediate steps in between to get you there. I think what you'll find is that if you have some idea, it's a lot less scary to embark on something like this. And also it gives you a timeline and some steps to do in order to get to your goal. Obviously, you also have to keep in mind that you are going to be wrong about some of this. I mean, there are things that are going to change about what things cost. There are things that are going to change about what presenters are available to you. And then there are huge global things that might change anytime within that time period. So just know that if you're pretty accurate within 6, 12, 18 months, you're doing a good job, and you should be looking at this every 6 to 12 months to adjust it based on how things are going now. Hopefully that gives you something to get started, and I'm looking forward to seeing you the next time.